guys. Okay, I'm still sick and I am losing my voice, so I'm gonna try very hard to project loud enough to get through this. I have obtained this statement that Shannon Dean filed, on July 11th to report her sister missing. This very elusive statement that I struggled to get, that we had to have attorneys, really reach out and fight for. We have it, and it looks a lot like I thought it would look. It says what I thought it would say, with the exception of the fact that this comes from Greenwich Police Department. Concerning, because this should have really come from Huron County Sheriff's Department. Another concerning thing here is that it's not signed. It's signed by Shannon Dean, but it's not signed by a witness. It is not signed by an officer. There's no statement taken by. I will put it up after the podcast so everybody can read it. But we're gonna look into this. July 11th, what I know happened, based on these text messages, is at 2:52, Rin texts Shannon, "Wow, Amanda's not in the cabin." And Shannon responds at 3:16 to Rin, "Wow, so Fred killed her." I don't have any messages after that, which is interesting. What I know happened between 3:16 and 3:57, when Shannon Dean called into Huron County Dispatch, is a story that I hear from, Shannon's side of this family before I stopped dealing with them. And that story was that Carolyn was at a doctor's appointment and she couldn't get away, and that Shannon called this into dispatch. So at 3:57, Shannon calls Huron County Sheriff's Department dispatch. She goes through this dispatch log, and keep in mind, I always look at dispatch logs because, typically dispatch logs are going to tell you where everybody's lying at. They're hard to fake here. So I look at this dispatch log and I start seeing some things that are questionable, some things that maybe don't jive with this story. Okay, so I get this dispatch log and I see that it says that Shannon is calling this in. This is being called in at 15:57 military time. She is reporting that there's an abusive relationship with her sister's boyfriend who is on drugs, that she's a 39-year-old female. She gives Fred's number. She goes down a lot of information here. And I start to see that Sheriff's Department is reacting. They're starting to react. They are en route to Greenwich to pick up this statement. So, at 3:57, Shannon calls it in. At 4 o'clock, Huron County Dispatch is reached out to Greenwich, which is where Shannon lived at the time. It's more of a courtesy call. They say, "Hey, we get this missing persons complaint. The complainant lives in your jurisdiction. Can you go out and see what's going on?" So from this complaint, it looks like at 4:22, he arrives on scene at Shannon's house to obtain, what's going on here. He collects this statement that I got today that is handwritten by Shannon. It is not notarized. It does not have an officer's signature on it, and it's from Greenwich. So, this statement is weird to me because Shannon, initially in our conversations, she told me that the statement did not exist, that she never wrote it, that if it does exist, that it's falsified. I knew by reaching out to Huron County Sheriff's Department that this statement did in fact exist. We could see that in the report from Shannon Lyons that it existed, and today we do see that it does exist. So this shift report at 9:32, I see that Shannon Lyons, who is the responding sheriff, has talked to Rin Rear. From what I can see, there is no written statement from Rin Rear. At this point, Rin tells him that, she has, she believes that she's been picked up by Shannon. Well, because Shannon's filed this statement, we know that Shannon Lyons, the sheriff, is there to contest that she was picked up. But he talks to Rin. We don't see a written statement. I'm concerned about that. I would like to see that if it exists. He also goes to Greenwich. While he's at Greenwich, he obtains this statement that I got today, this handwritten one that's on Greenwich letterhead, okay? He also gets a photo of Amanda that has been texted to this Greenwich police officer. And, you know, Shannon tells me from the beginning that she never had a message that she sent with this photo, that she didn't even have a photo of Shannon. These two things can't be simultaneously true. So, you know, I find out that Shannon's lying here. I see that the sheriff's department is issuing pings and they're following up with Lorraine and Norwalk PD. They're issuing bolos. This is weird, right? Because there is still no sworn statement. This statement is not signed. It's not sworn by an officer. There's no sworn statement. So my opinion here is they've gone above and beyond at this point because they don't have a complaining witness. I've done this week. This week I filed a complaint against Shannon for the falsifications in this statement. And in order to do that, I had to go down and, you know, show my proof and talk to the sheriffs, and they had to ask me some questions. And, you know, I at one point had to insist that this statement be taken. Shannon's family, to my knowledge, according to this timeline, they didn't go. According to what I can find, Shannon and Carolyn went about their business on July 11th. On July 12th, I hear that there was a search party. I can verify this. And this is when finally, you know, Sheriff Corbin has supposedly reached out to this family via a phone call while they're searching on Rinrear's property. And he says, I have some information. I need you to come to the station. This is the first time that Shannon and Carolyn, to my knowledge, have been in this station to report this family member missing. Now, I know that they called it into dispatch, and they did do this written statement with Greenwich, but they were told they needed to do one with Huron County. And I'm curious as to why they didn't follow up on that. I'm also curious as to how Huron County sheriffs opened and started this missing persons investigation without a sworn statement, without a complaining witness. Why did the deans never demand, you know, that this statement be taken while they're at this meeting where they say they're in the safe house? You know, somebody says maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't know the law, and I say, sure, you know, that's viable. And then we start to go into why did it take so long to get this statement? It seemed to me that the sheriff's department was pretty friendly with me. They seemed pretty open and honest. I didn't run into any walls until I asked for the statement from Shannon and Dean. I had to wonder why. And then I look and I see, you know, some interesting representation by Sitterly where he represents, you know, maybe the interests of the sheriff's department and the interests of the county. And I start to follow a path there. Why would he be, you know, compelled not to talk? I do keep checking this phone because I have a set of attorneys online to keep me out of trouble. I'm apparently venturing a little deeper than I may have bargained for. That's why I'm checking this. So, you know, were these procedures followed? I looked through and I saw, you know, this another incident here. I see another incident in January of 2017, and this is an incident where, okay, this Huron County Sheriff's officer, the deputy, has responded on 1/11/2017 because Shannon comes into the office requesting assistance, you know, in finding her sister. She says that she gets a voicemail. This is not in July. I know the dates are really similar, okay? This is 1/11, January 11 of 2017. She goes into this sheriff's department and she says she got a voicemail from her sister that had been left 2 days prior on 1/9/2017. In the voicemail, Amanda is crying. She's saying that she has a black eye, that Fred is going to kill her. Shannon received this text from Amanda a few minutes after the voicemail has been left, saying that she was able to get out of the house. However, Shannon, gets this all 2 days later, and she's still unable to get in contact with Amanda, and she fears something bad happened. So, dispatch puts this bolo out, and, they go to Wells Road, and she's there with her boyfriend. She makes contact with Fred and Amanda. This officer has immediately noticed that Amanda has a bruise and swelling on her right eye. This officer asks what happened. Amanda hesitates, then says that she was hanging things and a hammer fell at her. This officer, because they had spoken with Shannon and has backstory, asks Amanda to step outside so that they can discuss it privately. Up to this point, this sheriff, to me, has done everything by what I would consider in my, don't know what I'm talking about terms, by the book. It seems pretty legit. He wants to get her outside and make sure that she's not uncomfortable telling this story inside with Fred, this person who may have abused her. Doing all the right things here. Eventually, she admits that she and Fred had gotten into a fight and they got a black eye while they were wrestling. Amanda said they worked everything out and she was fine. Now, this deputy seems like he's doing a really good job here. He seems like good police to me, and I've seen the difference here in the last couple of weeks. This sheriff seems like he's so concerned, or that it's protocol, and we'll talk about this in a minute, that he reaches out to the assistant law director, Scott Christoffel, I may be saying that wrong. If I am, I'm sorry, to reference the incident. He advised that Amanda did not pursue to press charges and that she would not be a cooperative witness and to not arrest Fred on domestic violence charges. Okay, well, I'm going to digress on that in a second. Before leaving, the sheriff, who is doing his damn job, tells Amanda, if you need assistance, reach out to this place. He gives her this information, according to what I understand, okay? He comes back to the office and he advises Shannon on this situation. She thanks him for his help. We move on. Now, here's my concern. Is Sitterly not protecting the sheriffs, but is he protecting some issues with the procedures here? When I look back at that incident, I'm reminded of another incident. I am reminded of an incident that was filed 12/1 of 02. Now, this one is a very interesting one because it has the same parties involved. And I look back at this, and sorry, I'm going to pull it up here. I don't want to be accurate when I say these things. These attorneys will get me. On 12/1/02, Todd Corbin, who was a deputy then and is now Sheriff Corbin, he's deputy then, he responds to another incident at Fisher Titus Emergency Room for a previous victim of Fred Rear, okay? This lady has had her face beaten in with a VCR rewinder. That's taken it way back. So apparently she has a VHS tape rewinder. Some people are not going to know what that is. But they were like an individual device and they were pretty heavy. It looks like this lady was beat, according to this document. And I'm not giving this out because, this lady deserves a little privacy here. She's suffered enough. But what I find interesting is at the bottom, after, Deputy Corbin has seen this abuse, he's taken pictures of it. He says he takes pictures for this report, okay? He sees pictures, it looks pretty bad. She says she wants to press charges, okay? She said that Fred told her he's leaving for Florida. She wants to press charges for domestic violence for physical harm. These procedures start to concern me because why? This woman, she was advised to come down to the Norwalk City Law Director's office at 8:30 a.m. on Monday to file a complaint and speak with the law director. Okay, so I see some detrimental procedure issues here. Okay, if there are signs of abuse, typically the state presses charges. In my experience as a victim's advocate, the state presses charges. I've seen Erie County do it. They don't necessarily need a cooperating witness if they see signs of abuse, and she's disclosed that in fact this has happened, and it appears that she did, both to this officer doing his job and to her sister. How can you expect a victim like Amanda, who had no car, no phone, no money, nowhere to go after, how do you expect her to get to this law director's office, who will only press charges, it appears, if they come down and sign these, because it's too hard if they don't cooperate? That's my opinion. But how do you expect these victims to get down to press these charges? This seems like a flaw in your procedures, Mr. Sitterly. It seems like a flaw in your procedures. And it seems like to me that these sheriffs are taking the heat for it. Amanda was failed again in 2017 when this law director, refused to press charges because she can't get down on Monday morning at 8:30 in the damn morning with no car and no phone to press charges. And once she does, where is she supposed to go? Did these procedures collapse again? Did they collapse again, Mr. Sitterly, when they didn't even bother to get a sworn statement to start this missing persons? These sheriffs, they appear to have done their jobs. They appear to have gone maybe above and beyond, seeing as how there was no statement. Why the secrecy from Sitterly? Sitterly, why, sir? It appears to me that you are covering what looks like a collapse in your own procedures. Your own procedures is what it appears to me. This is a woman's issue, and yesterday, people keep asking me why I'm doing this. It's a woman's issue, and I feel, and it's a woman's issue in a man's world, and I operate pretty well in a man's world. Domestic violence, sexual assault, they're mostly women's issues. I'm not saying they are entirely. Please do not jump on this and make it something it's not. But they are primarily, for the most part, women's issues. Amanda is not here to speak for herself. For whatever reason, she's not here to speak for herself. I am a victim's advocate. Because of that, I need to make sure her voice is heard. Now, yesterday I had this passionate conversation with a BCI agent. Okay, super passionate conversation. And during that conversation, I realized that he's probably passionate because, he cares. And, this guy, he's got a tough job. People aren't usually passionate about things they don't care about. I stood my ground with this guy. I stood my ground with him because I believe that regardless of the respect that I have for the work that the BCI is doing, it's been too long for Amanda to not see justice. I stand my ground. I respect the BCI's position. I respect that this is not their only case, okay? I respect that. I respect that there are active victims that are, here and able to speak and able to be prosecuted. People are being able to be prosecuted because of that. I accept that there are more pressing dangers. I respect all of that. I still have a duty as an advocate for a victim to be a voice. This agent that we had this passionate conversation with that I respect very much, he would have had to deal with her mother and sister had this been done correctly in 2017. And, for whatever reason, I don't think that she's had a voice, and I have to be that voice. Sir, Mr. BCI agent, yesterday when I was talking to you, I didn't understand why you were so passionate. I didn't understand why you were so mad. I apologize. I truly apologize. I understand why you were mad now. It's perfectly acceptable for people to be wrong. Everybody's wrong sometimes. You know, how you behave when you're wrong defines who you are. I didn't get what you meant. So I'm going to see if I can hopefully help you and not harm you here. If I'm making it worse, text me, dude. Fellow crime sleuths. This is an interesting case, right? And you know, everybody wants to be involved in this. There's a pretty decent, sizable reward, you know, that the BCI is offering, you know, for some information on this. However, I think that, you know, Mr. Passionate BCI agent yesterday was upset because perhaps he is getting an overwhelming number of tips. And that's great if the tips are relevant. But probably much like me, he has a process that he has to go through, and I think we might be making his job a little harder. My apologies. It was never my intention. If you have a specific tip effect that you know first or even second hand, not a theory, not a rumor, not something you heard on my podcast, okay? And it is time relevant and context relevant, then it is in your best interest to reach out to the BCI. If you just want to chat through a scenario with him, he's busy. And we really need to not do that. If you have valid information, I do reach out to the BCI, give it to them. I don't think that they're not investigating this. I think that they just can't do it as fast as I can. And I don't think it's for lack of trying. Okay, so what I think happened in this case is I think that everybody is a little guilty. I think society is guilty. I think the sheriffs, you know, there were some times that maybe they could have acted back in January, and the law director who didn't press those charges, I think if you would have pressed those charges back then in January, maybe we would be in a different spot. I think that her family feels guilty. Got to, you know, when you see these things, a lot of people feel guilty. I do think, based on what I can see, that on July 11th, as far as investigating this and looking at it, the sheriffs, they followed the protocols that are in place. I think it's the protocols that are the problem. I think it's the rules that are the problem. I don't think it's the sheriffs. I don't think there was malicious intent here. It looks like they tried. I think the procedures, they are what we need to be looking at. I think that they need to be changed. And I think in order for them to be changed, we have to do what I just did with the, you know, BCI agent, and we have to be able to admit when we've, you know, we're wrong. And we have to be able to be open to talk about it and not just ignore it. I think Shannon Dean needs charged for her role in this. Make no mistake about it. She needs charged. She lied to the police. In this statement, okay, let's chat about this statement. In this statement, that I tried so hard for, and everybody else worked so hard for this freaking statement. In this statement, it says precisely what I thought it would. She says, I talked to Amanda 2 weeks ago. She said, in quotes, I'm going to post this for everybody to see with their own two eyes, I am okay, I guess. That conversation did not happen 2 weeks prior. That conversation that she quoted, okay, that she must have went back and looked to quote, happened on July 5th. We are talking less than a week, not 2 weeks, less than a week, okay? Boyfriend won't let her use phone. That's not necessarily true. The boyfriend's mom did allow her to use the phone. And then she said, I'm sorry, mother texted today at 2:53, is that right? It is. At 2:53 saying Amanda is gone and good thing she needs to find someone she deserves better. Rin did say all of that. That is true. She thinks I have her and I don't have her. So much more has happened. She contacted me, asked for money, and so very abusive toward her. Fred is on heroin. This is the missing persons statement that Shannon Dean wanted the police to operate off of to find her sister. I struggled for my life to read this statement. I have read it dozens of times since I got it because it's so hard to read. It's barely legible, okay? The information that she provides in this statement does not meet the burden of searching for immediate danger. 2 weeks ago, you gave her money. She's in a very abusive situation. Is normal for Amanda. It's not normal for regular people, and it sucks to say, but this was daily abuse for Amanda. She suffered way worse than this. So this is not enough to compel the sheriff's department to start this immediate investigation into someone who is in imminent danger. Shannon did not turn over the text messages that she referenced in this statement. In this statement, she references, "I'm okay, I guess." That message came from Rin's phone. It was Amanda texting and responding to not being picked up. Okay? So, I think she's charged. Okay? And I don't think we should dilly-dally on charging her because it affects this case. I think Rin Rear needs to be further questioned. I think that Shannon Lyons asked her more than just one question that day. I don't think that he went out there and was out there to respond to Shannon Dean's missing persons report about Amanda and accepted that Shannon Dean picked her up from Rin. I don't think that's reasonable. Okay, so I found a lot of victims in this case. A lot. When I'm talking about procedures, I have to talk about this. And I want to be accurate about this because attorneys, again, let me pull it up so I'm making sure. Yeah. On 7/14, we're talking July. This is, 3 days after she's been reported missing. Amanda's been reported missing. There is a complaint that is called into Huron County Sheriff's Department. They are requesting a welfare check on a 15-year-old female and a handicapped 30-year-old man named Paul. The 15-year-old female is Fred's daughter. Leave her alone. She has nothing to do with it, as far as I can tell. Let's put that disclaimer on there because Lord knows I've done that before. The complainant advised the male showed her how to smoke pot and how to shoot drugs into his arms that he demonstrated through sign language. The sheriff goes out. There is no one in the driveway, no answer at the door. From what I can tell, there's no follow-up. I'm starting to be concerned about this because as I look through this case, I start to get, some information about Paul. Paul is now, Rin, I offered you your shot just like I offered Shannon. Okay. You didn't answer it. Paul is the handicapped son of Rin Rear, the brother of Fred Rear. When I started hearing about some of these, I sign pretty well. I work with a lot of the deaf community. I'm interested in sign language. I sign pretty well. I hear this story, that this man who is handicapped and disabled, he's nonverbal, he does sign from what the information I have, has been pulled out of this, program that he's in because he's telling on this family. He's telling about the conditions in this family home from what I can understand. I've talked to some members of this family and it seems pretty legit. So not only that, I start looking in some Huron County court logs. Lots to find there, wealth of information there. And I see that nonverbal handicapped Paul Rear has multiple credit cards maxed out in his name to the point that now they're being sued for it. then I hear about, this drugs and the violence that he's in. And then I hear this story about, maybe they were using Paul to secure drugs for Fred Sr., who refuses to get off street drugs long enough to get a surgery from the stories that I'm hearing. And I start to be worried about Paul Rear. I have to ask questions like, if he is in their care, are they being compensated for it? Are they receiving, some subsidies for that? Are they getting like Social Security, those type of programs? And if they are, is he capable of approving of these credit cards and these purchases, to the point of maxing them out? Or is this an abuse of power over him? This information doesn't have to be investigated by the Huron County Sheriff's Department. It gets to be investigated by, the Americans with Disabilities Department. It's a little bit different. I have to wonder why, procedurally, again, there was no follow through on this from what I can tell. Are there no safeguards in place? We do have to understand that cops are overworked and underpaid. It's the reality, man. They're civil servants. They're in the line of duty. They can get shot at and spit at and all kinds of terrible stuff. How do we make sure that the procedures protect them? How do we make sure that the procedures make sure that these police officers can effectively do their jobs? Are there procedures for follow-up? Who is there checks and balances? I don't see one failure here, okay? I see a lot of failures. I don't see one. I see a lot of people who, maybe shirked a little bit of their responsibility, and in the end it added up to some catastrophic consequences. There's one question that's left unanswered. When I pose this entire theory of mine, I say, where did this safe house shelter story come from? Where did it come from? Because I only seen it from Fred, Shannon, Amanda, and Rin. And then all of a sudden it pops up to Sheriff Corbin, who says, that she's in a shelter and she's been badly beaten, one of the worst cases he's seen, odd since he's seen some bad ones. And she's not in immediate danger. Now that seems like a bold statement, okay? Why would they make such a bold statement? That doesn't make sense to me, unless Rin told that to Shannon Lyons, while he was out there knocking at her door. Why didn't Rin talk about the plan with Shannon Lyons then, or did she? We don't have a written statement that I can find, so I don't know. Did Lyons say that Shannon Dean reported her missing to Rin? He had to, right? Is that when she tells Corbin about, this story tells Shannon about this story that, Corbin eventually tells to the press? I don't know. I can't find the statement. What I can definitively say here is I did find people lying. I did find errors. I cannot definitively say that those errors fall on the backs of the men and the women that work in the Sheriff's Department. I don't think that's a fair statement. I don't think it's a fair statement because it looks like to me that the actual breakdown and problem here is long-reaching. It brings some other things into question. How important are domestic violence victims to Sitterly? Sir, are these victims important to you? It doesn't appear that you make it very easy for them to report crimes. Am I in trouble? I'm not. It doesn't make it, look like it's really easy. It doesn't make it look like you help them at all. Is that what you're protecting? Is that why you didn't want me to see this statement? Is that why, it seems like the Sheriff's Department, the police officers are, all pretty okay with what I'm saying here. And the only person that seems to have blockaded me is you. Why? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out the answers to those questions. I didn't have time today. I tried. If it's you that's responsible and it's you that is, putting a stop on this, if the BCI are really trying to get these warrants and you're somehow slow walking this, you're going to have some questions to answer tomorrow morning, sir. And, I'm not walking away. I'm going to keep filing these complaints. And we can talk about them being an opinion if we want to, but they're not opinions. I have the facts to back them up. What I'm saying is I've lobbed, some pretty serious concerns here. Tell me I'm wrong. Mr. Sitterly, tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me that you care about victims and tell me how. Tell me that you make it easy for victims to report to you and tell me how. Tell me what procedures are in place to protect these people. Tell me what procedures are in place to keep the police officers, in some form of checks and balances. These are busy men and women, and they're human at the end of the day. The procedures are supposed to be in place, in my opinion, to protect all that. To me, I think that the only reason Amanda Dean has not seen justice yet is because of that. If I'm wrong, I'm happy here to admit it. But you have to tell me it and prove it to me. You can't just, issue this, we're not going to respond nonsense. I promise you, sir, I will get you to respond eventually. There are ways around this. There are laws concerning this. You don't get to pick and choose which ones are important to you. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check and make sure I'm not in trouble. And then I'm going to pull this feed up. And if there are people that are on this feed and have questions for me that I can answer in real time, as opposed to having to look at these messages and Facebook things, it might save us a little time here. So let me get to myself. I don't exactly know how to do this. Okay. So, I see these questions. What about the other women he has beat? Speak up. They have. They have spoken up. I have the statements. If they hadn't spoken up, I wouldn't be able to pull public records requests. They have. The really important question here is, what procedures are in place to facilitate them being able to effectively get out of these situations and report this? Another person says, do you know if BCI has talked with Fred, Rin's husband? Have they made any contact? Have they asked if they can look around the property? I am going to respectfully decline to answer that out of respect for the BCI's investigation. I'm making it hard enough on him. I have the right to do it, I believe. It is necessary that I do it, but it's not necessarily for me to just, punish him. I don't think he deserves to be punished. But I don't know. And out of respect for that investigation, I'm not going to speak on it. Adult Protective Services should have been called to check on this handicapped person. I agree. Whoever called in this complaint, unfortunately, called the sheriff's department. And, I think that a lot of the problems here that I'm seeing is that people don't know how to do what they need to do. They don't have the right information. They're not properly represented. There's nowhere that they can go for advice. Yeah, and we're going to get that into the right hands. I will be turning that over myself. I have that information. It will be interesting to know what Paul has to say about this. He may be nonverbal, but he isn't deaf. I'm sure he's quite a lot over the years. I think that's why he's been taken out of school. From what I can gather, from everything I can gather, that's why he's been taken out of school. From everybody that I've talked to, he speaks fluent sign. And, nonverbal doesn't necessarily, it only means that he's not speaking to you. It doesn't mean he doesn't understand. It doesn't mean that he can't communicate. Is Fred still on Wells' property? Records look like he was given the property. You're right. Records do look like he was given the property. Now, my opinion on that is it looks like there were some medical bills, maybe some liens. Perhaps this was transferred back and forth to avoid losing the property. I do believe Fred is still in the area. I keep tabs on Fred Rear. So I do know he's still in the area, yes, or at least he was the last time in very recent days. If the complaint for Adult Protective Services was ours, it would have went to Sheriff's Office just like Children's Services complaint. Not necessarily. When there is some fraudulent things involved here and not necessarily just abuse, it would go to a different department. Eventually, yes, it would probably end up back with the sheriffs, but like I say, that's where these procedures are concerned because I don't see a checks and balances. I don't see any more questions on here. If you do have more questions, please pose them in a public forum. The reason why I'm asking you, unless it is a sensitive information concerning her children, I refuse to speak on her children. That is just all there is to it. If you put comments in my threads about her children, I delete them. That's all. You don't like it, too damn bad. I'm speaking for Amanda, and this is really hard for me because I've never had to speak for a victim that wasn't here to tell me, what they wanted. And this is weighed very heavily on me because I have to speak for this woman who isn't here. I never met her. I don't know what she would want. So what I have to do is speak for her like I would want someone to speak for me. And I don't care what happened to me. I would want my kids left alone. So we're going to leave her kids alone. Okay? I'm not checking on her kids. I'm not looking into your tips on her kids. I do not give a damn. Okay? Stop talking about her kids. And I'm saying that as an advocate that is speaking for her. Okay? Stop talking about her kids. Do you have to make an appointment to talk to Sitterly? Good question. I've been going through the procedures on that today. There are some ways around this. I think that after this conversation in this podcast, it's in Sitterly's best interest to go ahead and give me a call tomorrow morning or tonight. My phone number is 419-677-6608. I'll answer it as soon as this is done. That's a cell. I'd like to talk to you about this, sir. These things keep pouring in, and because of it, I've taken this investigation in a little bit of a different direction. I want to explain, I want to be transparent here. I think that the truth is what's important. I think that the truth is what's been denied this woman, and a voice is what's been denied this woman. And I'm trying to do that here. I've made some decisions today that I believe will affect this case. Because of that, I cannot do another podcast until I see that through. If for some reason I feel that I have to do a podcast to be able to get done or accomplish a task, I'll weigh the weight of that against the potential collateral damage before I make that decision. I do appreciate everybody's help on here, and everybody telling me that I'm a godsend. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But I don't think that I am. This is what makes it hard for me. I think that I'm a decent person, and I think that that we need to understand that this shouldn't be extraordinary. Me sitting here, talking to people and, looking into this, it shouldn't be deemed extraordinary. It should be deemed basic human decency. So, the fact that this woman was denied so much human decency, I have to fight for that here. So I am doing this in the most sensitive way that I can. I don't want to cause collateral damage here. I don't want to make it harder for the investigators to investigate it. I do want to make sure that this remains on the forefront because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I am going to make sure that that happens. I am going to do my best here to make these decisions over the next couple of days about what I believe needs to happen. I'm calling in all the favors on this one. I'm going to say this again because I believe that Amanda would want me to. I believe that she would want me to. This doesn't have to go down like this, you guys. You know, Shannon, Carolyn, Rin, this road is getting bumpy and it doesn't have to get bumpy. You know, all of these women have come together and they didn't even know Amanda. All the women that I'm working with, they didn't even know Amanda. And they're coming together and they're speaking for her and fighting for her. You can still walk this back a little. You can still decide to do the right thing. You can still decide to fight for Amanda. Yeah, maybe you didn't fight from the beginning. But listen, you can now. You can change course and direction. Okay, you have that option. And if you still want to take that option, I am here. I will be fair. Okay, I will be fair to you. I will make sure you get a fair shake on this, at least in the public opinion. I will make sure that I pull the same favors that I pulled to get these meetings to make sure that this information is dealt with in a delicate manner, because I believe that Amanda would want me to extend that grace to people that she loved. And regardless of how she was treated, regardless of what happened, Amanda loved her mother. Amanda loved her sister. It appears that Amanda and Rin had an affection for each other. Okay? So you women, step up. Jesus, step up. You don't have to stay on this course of wrong forever. It doesn't have to go down like this. I don't have to do this. I don't want to. This isn't fun for me. I hate this. But I will see justice in Amanda Dean's case. I will stand here and you know, I will piss people off and I'll demand justice. And you know, if it takes a bully being bullied a little bit, okay, I'm here for that too. I think that she deserves this. So you know, well, let me say these things really quickly. What's the holdup on a search warrant because Sitterly is dragging his feet? I believe so, yes. I believe that that's the holdup. I believe Sitterly is dragging his feet. I believe that the reason why is because this doesn't look so great for Sitterly. You know, maybe the sheriff took the heat, but it doesn't look so great for Sitterly. We need to stop the stigma of people with addiction and mental health issues. So much was hidden. Absolutely. Okay, absolutely. The reason why these generational curses that I am finding that appear to be very prevalent in this family, the reason why they are allowed to continue from generation to generation is because nobody speaks up about them. The reason why people don't speak up about them is because there's a stigma attached to it. Stop, okay? Stop. Mental health it's a medical condition, okay? It's a medical condition. You know, if you suffer from some of those things, there is no shame in seeking help. I don't judge that. I hope you do seek help on it. I think that Amanda needed some mental health. After this abuse in South Carolina, after this rape and this torture, I think she needed some mental health. You know, I think she needed to talk to somebody about it. People want to talk about the stigma. I regularly talk to a therapist. She's probably watching this. I regularly seek advice from, you know, people who I believe. I'm a religious person. I do swear and I have some bad habits. I'm a deeply religious person. If you don't see that in my life by my actions and my behavior, I'll do better. I don't need to explain to people my religion, but I do hold people, you know, and ask them to hold me accountable. And you know, there are people that do that for me. I think that we need to stop that stigma. I asked for help. You guys think I could have figured all this out on my own? I'm a restaurant consultant. Yeah, I do some interesting stuff. I do, you know, some events, large scale events, and I do some advocacy. But I'm a restaurant consultant. You know, I didn't go to the police academy. I'm just jumping in and trying to help here. I'm a regular person. My family is a family of, you know, my family is a massive family of addiction, okay? Both sides. And I don't, a reporter who is very well intentioned and just did an interview on me told me to stop telling people that, to stop telling people about my family and where I come from, and that I am a survivor of sexual abuse. And no way am I going to stop doing that. Me doing that allows people to be able to come and talk to me, to feel like maybe they won't be judged. And it's just the truth, okay? All of those things, they don't define who I am. What defines who I am is whether or not I choose to do the right thing when it matters. And you know what my dad did, or what my family did, that doesn't define me, but it matters. I see any follow-up on the uncle? Uncle Eugene Hunter feels like he has probably taken a back burner here. You have not, sir. You have not taken a back burner. I am working both of these things simultaneously. I found some very interesting things on Mr. Hunter. I have actually uncovered some handwritten letters by Eugene himself during the time he was in prison. I'm seeking some advice on those. I'm reaching out to some psychologists and psychiatric, advice there, also some attorneys to see what that means. I am working in a consistent manner with Erie County Sheriff's Department, with Sheriff Sigsworth, and with Detective Alexis. I believe her last name is Han, but I don't remember. I'm working closely with them. I am turning over all information that I have that is on the record. If you are not on the record, your information never happened. Do you understand? If you tell me something and it's off the record, I use that information as context. I use that information to go find it another way. But if you're off the record, I don't sell you out, ever. I don't do it. I don't care. Find somebody who says I do. It doesn't happen. I believe this uncle needs to go back to prison. I think this uncle is an element of this generational abuse that has been covered up and allowed to become so normal. And, they've lied profusely about what this man does. All of a sudden we see, family members that I know, maybe you guys don't know, I know that they're family members. After that podcast, everybody's Facebook is gone. All of a sudden details are not existent anymore, because the truth is told. And the truth is powerful. We start to look into this uncle, and we start to see some things pop up. So while I'm investigating this, I am also dealing with the uncle. Yeah, if somebody's asking if they can call or write Sitterly to step up and deal with this. That's a double-edged sword, in my opinion. Now, I'm just being transparent with you. I'm going to talk through this with you like I would behind the scenes. Would that motivate him potentially, to be, let's just for lack of a better word, bullied into, acting on this? Sure. Does it delay the case because you have to deal with all of these people that are calling in? Potentially. I don't know. So before we fire off all these, calls and messages and stuff to Sitterly and clog up these poor, people that work in these offices, let me make sure that that's the right step. Because I would like to offer Mr. Sitterly, like everyone else, the opportunity to stand up and do the right thing here. I think that these are the only people that need that offer. If I saw that the sheriffs did something super blatantly wrong here, I would absolutely expose that. But to me, this looks systematic. It looks like there is a problem with procedures and that we just continue ignoring that. So that's where I think that my path is today and tomorrow. Beyond that, we're not done. Everybody so far said we wouldn't get this far. And here we are, we're this far. And next week, I think that you're gonna see exactly how far we have pushed this. I want to let everybody know that I don't do this by myself. This information would have taken me weeks and months. Am I in trouble? No. This information would have taken me weeks and months to gather public records. It's a tough pull. That was already done for me. It was done for me primarily by the previous advocate and the Sandusky Register. If you want to know who that is, it's not hard to look up who that was. I don't know that person, wants any credit for turning over public records, but it was helpful. I have a list of attorneys here that are talking to me and offering me free advice and talking for hours and hours on end. And if you've ever dealt with attorneys, they're really expensive and they charge by the hour, sometimes by the 15 minutes. These are women that are coming forward and doing this. And then I have some people like, Miley's in that is, a victim's advocate, and she's giving me some information and helping me research stuff. Most of the people that have come forward have been women. We have some behind the scenes people that do this. My husband does all these cameras and these equipment, and he doesn't yell at me when I wake him up at 3 o'clock in the morning with a phone call from a sheriff to talk through something. And I appreciate that. I do analyze this information. I do ask the questions and find out what it means, but I don't know all the answers. So all of these people combined are why we are able to get here. Somebody's asking if there's a lawyer that represents his sons. I appreciate the question. I don't speak on her children. Anything else? Do we have anything else? Oh, okay. All right, guys. I appreciate you listening to me. I will update you on the Sitterly thing. I think that's the only thing that I really need to update you on about, should you reach out or not. Let me make sure. We don't want to clog that up. But I will get back with you as soon as I can. I will continue working on it in the meantime.